I'm finally in my new house. So please forgive my boxes. I've got a bunch of stuff in the background. See if you can find anything cool. I don't know. I have that old video camera. The Motorola Razr Plus was not the phone that I expected to pull me into flip phones. And it almost did. I used this phone for about a month and I really appreciate the build quality of this phone. I love myself square phones, iPhones, the new Pixels. I love it. The MacBooks, everything. I think it's really clean. I've thought that since the iPhone 4. I've always been an advocate for square sides and square design. So I really like that about the Galaxy Flips, but there's a lot to like about the Motorola Razr that the Galaxy Flips just don't do. For example, the front screen is much, much wider. You can do a lot more on the front. For example, I had a customer come in with a broken Galaxy Z Flip 5, so last year's. The inside screen was destroyed and damaged. The outside screen was fine. So at AT&T, that's still considered $1,000 off of a new flip. Any Galaxy, any condition. So I had somebody trade in a Galaxy S1. It worked. It's pretty cool. But the catch is that I need to be able to factory reset it. It's just something we have to do. I was like, oh, no worries. We can do that remotely. There's multiple ways to do this, but I need to connect the device to the internet. So I thought, no big deal. I've done this on my Razr. I'll just open up the settings app on the front screen and connect to the internet. Guess what you can't do on the front screen? Open settings. So anyway, there's a lot to be said about both of these devices. I like the Motorola better because, as you all know, I'm a Pixel user. I don't prefer Samsung's UI at all, actually. So just on that front, it's already a win for me. The back is also this really cool, like leather or like rubber or something like that. It doesn't attract dust. Lint doesn't stick to it. So it's not silicone, but it also kind of feels like treated rubber. I'm actually not exactly sure what it's made of. I probably should have looked that up before this video. And then obviously I really like the cameras on the front too. I think it looks really, really good. The cutouts look very striking, definitely attracts attention. And I showed it to many, many customers and actually sold a couple while I was at work at AT&T. Let's talk about the specs of it. I'm not one to pixel peep into every single spec. You have MKBHD for that. You have in-depth tech reviews for that. You've got all kinds of other people that go in depth in specs. I'm just looking for the everyday user, whether or not it's a good phone, how it's going to treat you in your daily use. I did not have high hopes for the battery on this device. I figured it'd be pretty lackluster considering it's not it is a first party manufacturer, but it's not a Samsung, it's a Motorola. Typically they don't have as great of a track record with this kind of thing, with bumping up the specs where they need to be. But I was actually pleasantly surprised. This phone, I would say, got me to probably 90%, 80%-ish of what I got out of my Pixel 7 and 8 Pro. So pretty good battery for being so small and for being an iteration of a company that has struggled to find its footing since the original Razr 10 years ago, whatever that was. So I was actually very pleasantly surprised. I did have always on display on the front screen. I had everything turned on, you know, I was using it with LTE and through AT&T, but there's a big caveat to this. I love the USB-C. It had turbocharging through Motorola, which was great. Very, very fast charging. It did not heat up. I mean, it got a little warm during the turbocharging, but that's normal because it's so fast. Never heated up, never got overpowered. I used it with Google Maps. I shot some video in like 100-degree weather. There's probably gonna be some clips in this video of that. But the caveat is that I am not a rich person. I did not just go out and buy this device for $1,000 or whatever it costs. It is currently on sale at AT&T for $6 a month, which, by the way, you can use my link in the description and I will get credit for it since I work there. The point is, this is not competing with high-end full-price devices. This is competing with other $6 devices at carrier stores. I've seen some drastic discounts on it. So Motorola is trying to get this into people's hands, which has worked because I've sold at least 2 to people who were normally going to buy like a Galaxy's like A13 or like the Motorola Stylus Play or whatever. That's also $6 a month at AT&T. I've sold this to 2 people who were like, I can get a flip phone for the same price. Like, why would I not do that? And I was like, that's what I'm saying. Like, buy the flip phone. What do you mean? That was a very, very smart move on Motorola's part. So I would give this device probably an 8 out of 10 for the durability, for the processing power, for the battery usage, for all that stuff. Really just is very clean and comes across really well. It's a great phone to use. And I also got it for $6 a month. So that's That's the caveat here, is I'm giving an 8 out of 10 for the $6 a month deal at AT&T or whatever other carrier has that, because every way I used the device was great. It was awesome. I had no problems with it, really. I had some camera stuff, which you'll see with some of these clips. It's not a great camera. It's not really top of the line. It's definitely not in contender for top with Pixel 9 Pro or iPhone 16, which it wasn't supposed to be.
Compensate for the Razr Plus not having a wide angle lens, which I actually forgot about. Each one of these photos was done in 1x and then 0.5x, the wide angle, and I did not select on the screen at all. I let the phone do its own processing with 2 exceptions. I took about 4 or 5 steps back to kind of simulate a wide angle, just to kind of get because the colors were in the wide angle and the other one's the sky. I wanted to give the Razr a chance to kind of process those. So I selected the sky to see how it would change, and it did process the colors pretty well after that. It's a little bit darker than the others. But that's the one that I put in there. And I'll also put the other one as well, just so you know what it looked like before I selected the sky. But those are the 2 exceptions. I took a couple steps back for the Razr to simulate the wide angle and get the colors, and then I selected the sky to see how it would actually process the colors once I knew they were there, because it wasn't really doing very well. It wasn't picking it up. I wanted to see what it was capable of.
It's the same thing as the Galaxy Flip. When you get a folding or a flip phone, especially the flip phone, you just know you're going to give up a little bit of that power. You're going to give up a little bit of the battery. You're going to give up a little bit of the camera quality. Because for the Flip, it's essentially the Galaxy S24 in flip form with only 2 cameras. So that's natural. That makes sense. Motorola doesn't really have an equivalent right now that I'm aware of. But I didn't have to give up those things that I thought I'd have to give up. So I was pleasantly surprised. But there were still a few little caveats here and there. So if you're looking to get this phone, definitely try it out. I actually would definitely recommend getting this phone if you're on the edge. If you're going, well, Samsung or whatever, and then aside from price, if price is going to make up your mind, then choose whichever one's cheaper for you at your carrier or wherever you're shopping. But if you're going, I don't care about the price. I want to try a flip phone. Should I try the Galaxy Flip or the Motorola Flip? I would actually try the Motorola Flip. The Galaxy is really cool for the design. Like I said, I love the square edges and everything. But I think if I had these 2 lined up on a table, which I did because my manager actually also bought the Z Flip around the same time, and I've been comparing, and it looks so much cooler on the outside, and it makes me want to get that one instead. But every time I open that device, it's just such a letdown, because the front screen has that like bezel on the bottom, and it's not quite as big. And I just think the Motorola looks a lot cleaner. The way it functions is a lot more complicated. It's just a letdown every time I open the device. Plus, the closing is so much nicer on the Motorola than the Samsung. The Samsung feels like kind of plastic, like hitting each other. This one feels more like a muted, kind of like closing a leather book. So anyway, I really liked the Motorola Razr Plus. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know in the description. If you want to buy this device, this is not an ad, but I do get credit for it if you use my link in the description at AT&T. So feel free, $6 a month right now. And yeah, try out this device, because this is a not rare win, because Motorola is a really good company, but this is a long time coming win, if that makes sense. Motorola has struggled to find their footing again since the original Razr. And they make low-end Android phones, and they're pretty good, but they've never really had like a knock it out of the park hit again since then. And this is the closest I think we've gotten to that, iconic Razr look, knocking it out of the park, being in the public spotlight and being mainstream again. So I really like the device. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you agree. Hit subscribe if you don't mind. That helps me out. And then like the video. And see you on the next one.